you're creating a game that in essence becomes a well-paid job / prison for you, and you're so stressed out over it, or you're really successful, right? Now you're economically successful, but where's the joy? Where's the fulfillment? Where's the happiness in that?
Hi, this is Coach Joe Lucas, and welcome to the Magellan Network Show. My goal inside of this communication, this show, is to share with you my nearly 30 years of coaching some of the most successful financial advisors in North America. We're going to be talking about strategies, syntaxes. We're going to be bringing guests on from time to time, and I'm going to share with you what's working now. So think of this show as sort of like a little one-on-one kind of mini coaching cast, if you like, where we're going to be going in depth from time to time on strategies to help you grow your business, get more effective, become more efficient, find balance in your time management, grow your business, and quite frankly, whatever else is going on in the world today. So before we get to today's episode, I'd love for you to do a couple things for me. Number one, make sure that if you're watching this on YouTube, that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're doing the audio, make sure that you give us a review on whether it's Spotify or Apple. We'd really appreciate that. And quite frankly, that does help. It does matter when you rate things and like things and subscribe to things. It helps us get the word out to more of the industry. And lastly, I have a very special gift for you. Go to MagellanNetwork.net, so one word, MagellanNetwork.net, and I have for you a complimentary membership, 100% gratis, where you can tap into about between 50 and 75 hours of masterclasses, forms, tools, templates, and strategies. So please go ahead and make sure you go ahead and get that claimed. Smash the like button and subscribe. And please go ahead and leave us a review on whatever podcasting platform you're on. And now, let's get to this week's episode. Hi, it's your Coach Joe Lucas, and welcome to this episode of the Magellan Network Show. We're about a week away. Actually, take that back. Just a couple days away from the month of July here in 2024, and which means the second half of the year. So I thought what I want to do in this episode this week, and the next week we'll talk about mid-year reviews, is just kind of have a little check-in conversation about timelines, right? And what I mean by that, I really think in my experience with working with advisors for 30 years, and when I say advisors, I mean this really applies to all business people, entrepreneurs and so on, which is, are we rushing to get somewhere and in essence sabotaging our joy, happiness, and fulfillment for it? So one of my key beliefs in advisor land, if you will, is obviously there's no mandatory retirement date. I've got many of my personal clients already now into their 60s and even in their 70s, and they're having their best years. So I think one of the elements is the concept of career peak, right, as an advisor. I just don't see it. I talked to actually a brand new personal client. We're doing a project together, and I remember reading some of her intake, and she goes, and she's been at this now for 20 years. She started in her early 20s. And I remember reading, saying, I'm at the peak of my career now, and I want to take advantage of the next 5 years. And that really caught my attention. Because I'm sitting here saying to myself, well, obviously she has an interesting belief set that somehow when you hit 50 in this game, like, okay, it's all you're going to ride a long train down, right, for the next 20, 30 years. And it's simply not true. So if that is a fact, so here's the thing. If you believe, I don't care how long you've been at this or how old you are, but if you believe that you really don't plan to retire, right, that retirement is not really an option for you, because you love what you do, you'll be bored, right? Like me, I like taking sabbaticals, but I'll never step away from the game because I love it too much. And you know what? It's what I do. It's my identity, right? The concept of Joe not coaching is just an absolute non-starter in my mind. It's just not there. And so
When I was away earlier this year for my spring sabbatical, which was a little over 3 weeks, I really thought a lot about why am I pushing so hard? Like, why am I stressing myself out, right? To grow at a rate, right? And to give you guys a little context on this, for the last 5 years, I grew anywhere from 20 to 30, 35% a year over year. So in essence, tripling my business in about 6 years. But that was a lot of work and a lot of stress and a lot of being uncomfortable and stuff like that. And, I thought about it while I was away. Actually, one of the things we did was take a cruise in the Mediterranean. And I remember being off one of the islands of Greece. And it was early in the morning. And I'm sitting there going, man, I'm really enjoying this. Like, this is like totally detached, everything like that. And I'm going, what would happen if over the next 20 years, I only grew at 10%, not 25, 30%. All right, what would happen? And so I got the calculator out, right? And, I put 10% in, compounded every year for 20 years, and the number literally blew me away. Like, wow. More than I would ever expect to do. And that taught me something. That, if you're going to play this game for decades, you don't have to grow at 25, 35% a year. I mean, you could. I'm not trying. If some of you want to do it, I'm not talking yourself out of it. Especially if you're younger. If you're younger in your game. But I think once you get to a point where you're economically sustainable, right? It now becomes this conversation about, well, what's the growth rate I want that I'll enjoy the process? It fits, right? I'm still going to play a game. I'm still going to act uncomfortably, but I'm not going to be super stressed out. I'm not going to be over my skis, and I'm going to enjoy the process. So here's what I'd have you do as a little bit of an exercise. Hi, Coach Joe Lucas here, and I'm just breaking here for a moment just to do a couple quick reminders. Number one, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel or our podcast. In addition, please leave a comment or a review. Those things really, really matter. And share this episode with 3 of your colleagues inside the financial services space. And lastly, make sure that you go ahead and claim your free membership inside of Magellan Network. Now back to this week's episode. You can take this year's production, we're at mid-year, so extrapolate out 2024, and then I want you to do, let's do 3 things, maybe 4, and let's just take it over the next 10 years. I think that's fair. I want you to take this year's production and 20% compounded growth for the next 10 years, 15% compounded growth for the next 10 years, and 10% compounded growth for the next 10 years. Look at those 3 numbers, okay? Now, obviously, the first one's going to be the largest, second, then the middle one, the second one will be the second largest, and the third one will be the quote unquote smallest, right? But if you look at the smallest, it's probably going to be pretty damn good. So now we've got 3 numbers after 10 years. So now I want you to understand that, when you look at it, think of it like a graph, right? So the 10%'s at the bottom, 15%'s in the middle, and 20%'s in the top. So if we look at that graph, now put next to it, pain point. So the 20% gain for the next day is going to be extremely painful. There'll be sacrifices. You're not going to really enjoy it. It's going to be a grind. You're constantly going to be, look, we're all going to be uncomfortable. That's part of the game, but we're going to be constantly stressed out. Like never celebrating the wins because we have no time because we got to keep moving, right? 15% is a little bit better, right? So not as stressful. We can celebrate some victories, things like that. But 10%, man, it's just like it just happens. You have a lot of joy, a lot of freedom, a lot of flexibility. You're growing the game. So the one thing I will never accept from a client or a member of my tribe is the concept of, I just want to maintain what I have. That never happens. You're either growing or you're dying, you're getting larger or you're getting smaller. The nature does not believe in stasis, right, where everything just stays exactly the same. It doesn't happen here. So as we just kind of get ready to talk about mid-year reviews next week, I want to make sure, I just want to check in with you guys and just understand that if you're going to play this game for at least a decade, if not more, like again, I hit my 30 mark earlier this year. I'm going to play this. I'm going to play this for another high level for at least another 20, maybe 30, right? So, 10% works for me. And once I did that calculation that morning off one of the Greek islands on the boat, like I just felt like, wow. Like almost like a burden was lifted, I was freer, right? And I think that's really important because I find that most advisors got into this game. You say, hey, what made you become an advisor? And I know things like, well, I want to help people. I like the stock market, all that stuff. But when you get down to like after that, what do you enjoy most about being an advisor? Oh man, I love the freedom it gives me. Okay. I like the fact that I don't have to punch a clock in, or I don't have a boss, or whatever it happens to be. Get it. But if you're creating a game that in essence becomes a well-paid job / prison for you, and you're so stressed out over it, or you're really successful, right? Now you're economically successful, but where's the joy? Where's the fulfillment? Where's the happiness in that? So one of the things I really pride myself on, when especially I'm talking to advisors that are already successful economically. So like in other words, they don't need me to ump their revenue game, which I end up doing anyway, by the way. It's really more about more time freedom. Like how do we construct a model that you could grow your business at 10, 20% a year, have 12 to 16 weeks off a year, a couple sabbaticals if you like, and still get it all done. And that absolutely exists. I live it. Many of my personal clients live it. So we don't do hypotheticals here at all. But if you ask me the one thing would hold an advisor back for pursuing that, it'd be fear. Well, what will clients think? What will my team think? How would I justify it? Right? All these things, which are just head trash, ultimately. So I just want to plant these seeds with you because I want you to realize that, like I said, if you're going to be here for at least another 10 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever, that once you're economically sustainable, the rules of the game can shift for you, but you have to be the one to shift them, okay? So hopefully this makes sense. And like I said, next week we'll be deploying our 2024 mid-year review process. So if you're a member of Magellan Network, just look for that masterclass. It'll be launched and you get a notification of it. It'll be in our basic masterclass. And for those who are not members of Magellan Network, it's free. So if you want access to this masterclass next week, just make sure you go to MagellanNetwork.net. There's a quickie form, like one link, set up your credentials. That's no credit cards, nothing, man, just in. And you got it, okay? So have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys in 7 days.
Thank you for watching or listening to this episode of the Magellan Network Show. Hey, if any of this resonated with you, I invite you to come to MagellanNetwork.net, and we have a powerful group coaching community of like-minded advisors. Come in for a trial. You and I will have a one-on-one conversation. Let's see if I can help elevate your game both personally and professionally.